Yeah, I got. Fuck. What the bloody hell?
It's not on your headphones.
No. But I was just on the headphones. What the fuck is wrong with you, you piece of shit? It says AirPods connected. What is this thing doing? Speaker. What? No. Is that how I got up? No. Okay, let me try this again.
Okay.
Leave. Okay, hello? Okay, now I hear you in my headphones, but okay.
Okay. And I'm all good. And you better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shall we just start then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here goes. Hello. I should do the intro. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner.
Intro! Yes, that helps.
Yes, the intro. My dog's getting excited too. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, May 3rd, 2025. It's just before 1930 UTC as we're starting to record. I'm Sam Minter, and Yvonne Bow is here. Hello, Yvonne.
Hi.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Your picture is frozen, but whatever.
I see that. I don't know. Okay, well, and especially I love the way that it froze. It's a fantastic look for me. It is this what the fuck?
I'm going to take a screenshot of that before that disappears.
Exactly,
there we go.
Which is like, the right, I totally believe that is the right face to be having for everything.
That should just be your thumbnail forever.
Yes.
Like you can change all your social media to that right now.
Exactly. And that's like an accurate take on how I feel on a regular basis right now.
For those listening who cannot see, Yvonne he's got his lips sort of pursed. He's scowling.
Right.
He looks sort of a mix between anger and confusion.
Yes, that's exactly right. And that's standard, every day, now for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
Because every time you look at your phone, you get an alert and you're like, what the, what?
I hear the next pope is going to be Donald Trump.
Yes. Saw that. Yes.
Yes. So anyway, so the agenda as usual is we're going to do but first lighter non-newsy stuff first. And I don't know what Yvonne has planned, but I'm going to do a movie. And then we'll do a couple segments of things that have actually been in the news lately, or whatever comes to mind. Like I'm actually looking at I've got a few things that aren't newsy that I might bring up. I don't know. I won't make the decision until the last instant. We'll see. But so Yvonne, you want to start us out with something non-newsy?
I don't know what the fuck is going on. Let's see. I'm Jesus. What day is today?
Today is Saturday.
It's May
8th. Or no, May 3rd. May 3rd. I got confused for a second. Because a 3 is like an 8 with the left-hand side erased, and so it's easy to confuse those.
Especially at this age, I guess, if you can't really see very well.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a blur.
trying to figure out what the hell, uh, happened this week. I mean, in terms of, um, I what has been going
Stuff.
on? I don't. It's been the blur.
You could just
It's
pick
just
a regular topic if you
no
want.
here, no, but no, but I think that it's been a blur, but it's a blur of I, talking to people that are at around this age. You've got jobs, you've got a child, you've got um, every day seems to be packed with something happening right after the other, right after the other, right after the other. It's like there is no break,
Right.
anymore. It used to be, when you were not married and you don't have kids, whatever. I mean, I still remember, talking to, there's a whole bunch of like much younger people that I work with, right?
Right.
And it's like, I remember like back then, I don't know, I worked so many hours and, we'd go out, I would go out regularly during the weekdays. And somebody the other day went and like told me how they wanted to have some kind of like a work meeting, and they said, "Well, could we talk about this Sunday?" I said, "I hear you, fucking mind. There is listen, unless there is an apocalypse of some kind. Okay, I am not getting on a fucking call to discuss something work related on Sunday. Okay, all right."
I hear you. Yep.
I mean, there is just no effing way, you know. But I was reading the other day about some of these people working at this junior bankers at this investment bank. Okay, all right, and that they were working, 120 hours a week. Okay, at this place, and
That's nuts.
that some guy came in as a whole bunch of them were at work at 4 in the morning, mind you. Okay, and I'm guessing there's an investment bank, probably some trading in Europe opened at that time or something, which makes them, it's one of those things where when you're trading investments and Europe is open at that hour, you probably have to be, somebody's got to be looking at what the fuck is going on. And the guys were, a bunch of them were talking about how burnt out they were and stuff or whatever. And some executive came in at 4 in the morning and told them, you know what? We're not pulling our weight. We're not working hard enough here. He's giving this speech at 4 in the morning. You're like, what the hell? I'm sorry. You're telling these guys that are in the office at 4 in the morning that they're not working hard enough? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
So,
this is one of those
my
things.
job does not demand anything of the sort. And actually, the one thing that the people that wanted to have the discussion, it wasn't actually related to my job itself. It was related to something that happened at the condo association. Okay. All right. Which is kind of like a job. Okay. When I had it. And, the people from the property management or whatever they wanted to discuss it, they said, "Hey, why don't we meet on Sunday?" And I'm like, "You guys are out of your fucking minds. I'm not meeting on a fucking Sunday." My job, the only times that we've had something like come up on a weekend is, we have systems that we manage 24/7. Okay. So, hey, somebody, something went down hard.
Yeah.
We've got a customer in a crisis. Yeah, that would entail, and I get that. That's something that's not planned, unexpected, and you've got a customer that's on fire, and yeah, you got to do something, okay? But other than that, I mean, it's just, that's what I said. Something's got to be apocalyptic. Something really bad has had to happen, and a lot of the systems that we service are critical, to customers. Like one of them is like, for a public utility for electricity. So it does the service calls and stuff like that. So, or a telephone company where our systems also do the service calls or something or whatever. So if that goes down, you can see how that would impact, a lot of people. at the same time as something that is of critical need, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I get that. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. You know, this whole thing where we've gone from, we went from whatever the work life balance that was before the pandemic, which I think was, you know, for most people, it wasn't bad. I think that our, well, let me take that back. I think companies were, my experience had been working at about three different companies that most employers are pretty reasonable about that. Okay.
Mhm. Although
Um,
this is the kind of thing that varies a lot from place to place, company to company.
right. No, I get that. But at the three different companies I spent, like before then, it had been pretty reasonable. Okay. All right. You know, what needed to happen and so forth. You know, there were no hard and fast rules. Like, you know, I had employees that most of the time were tasked to an office, but they said, hey, you know, I got something going on the next couple of days. Can I work from home? It's like, sure, no problem. It's not like me telling somebody to work from home isn't violating some corporate edict of some kind,
Right,
you
right.
know? You know, and now to where all of a sudden you've got executives and chief executives mandating, you know, how many days and what, you know, exactly when they need to be in the office and micromanaging this in a
Yeah,
level
and I
that
think
had
look,
not been
part
that's
of
not
this
been
is
like that.
that part of this is that for the people who got to work at home over the pandemic, and obviously this does not apply to all jobs. If you're in a factory making something, you could never work from home.
Right.
But like for the people who did get to work from home, sort of pandemic time was a realization of the amount of freedom you could have. So even going back to sort of where things were before, would have still been a constraint, but because management is really wanting to control it and really force the issue, they're putting all these additional constraints which make it seem more like kindergarten than it was before.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I
even
mean,
when
the
they say
pendulum has swung like
even when
for,
they
you know,
say the right
yeah.
things, like even when they say, look, if you have a dentist appointment and you have to work from home, no problem, just tell us. Like fine, but like all of those things were very informal
Right.
pre-pandemic.
Right.
And now it's like, oh yeah, you have to be sure to tell us. You have to put something on your calendar to block off the time. You have to do this, you have to do that. And even if it is fairly informal, even if it's still just, oh, tell your boss, it now feels like you're being watched at every moment.
Yeah. I think that for a lot of people, I will say that for me, you know, and I think that, and I'm reading that, I'm talking about from other people, not me
Well,
in
because you get to
particular.
you in your role, you and your company, you're still at home when you're not
Right.
traveling.
Right. I think that the one thing that did change is that my kind of like, I guess that my kind of like office time really was travel time. That's really what it boils down to in the essence. And the reality is that it's made me have to go back to traveling a lot, but at the same time, that was still a lot more flexible than most work arrangements that anybody else had in the first place. I mean, it's not the same thing. I mean, the one thing is, you know, you've got customers that are in the office and they're expecting you to come to visit them instead of doing a Zoom, and so, you know, that's you know, that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. Okay. So, but I guess the thing is, it's just reading that. I'm like, going. I'm like, you know, how the hell does some guy go? It's just the extreme insane of, you've got people that literally are working 120 hours a week, and you're bitching that they need to double down. I'm just like,
You know,
dude, what the fuck?
honestly, the thing is, and you know, I know people are pushing for get more and more done with less and less resources, but with technology and automation and everything else, we should actually be going the other direction. The humans that are working should be doing less. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
things should be a little bit more relaxed. You know, you look at these curves they do of like per capita productivity comparing decade over decade, and each individual is getting so much more done than they did a few decades ago.
Well, you
Come on,
definitely don't
let
need
them
as
some
many
slack.
employees.
Let's work it. Let's work it like 1950s levels again. Okay, come
Well,
on.
think about farmers, for example, right? I mean, they talk about small towns and whatnot. I mentioned this before in the podcast.
Yeah,
You see how the productivity per acre is so much higher than it's ever been, and how farmers now have all these automated tools to help do farming. They don't need like people like out there like picking the fields. They've got these damn combines that are robotic, that are GPS, that can be driven by GPS, that they can pinpoint where the hell they have to be on the damn field, and like the systems, and like they pull and they automate, and they measure, and they do all this stuff. It's amazing shit. And I'm like, but what that means is you definitely don't need as many people to do, like, I mean, one person can do so much more than they used to be able to do. And
right. And of course, what everybody, what the tech industry right now is gambling on is that as AI continues to advance, the same thing will be true of knowledge workers very soon.
I mean, I think that's like I was talking the other day, and I saw a couple of other people like uh in the news talk about this, and I had thought this myself, that you know, uh, a lot of the things that AI does is enable a lot of us to do work faster, not necessarily remove the work. Not, I mean, not at least in this current iteration. And a lot of times, with technology that we've done, okay.
Well, and again, the gamble is that you can't judge it based on what it's doing now, because it's moving so fast. In another year, 2 years,
Yeah,
3
yeah,
years,
no,
it'll be a
but
whole
still,
different thing.
but still, I mean, it's like, I still remember, like, come on, 30, 40, 50, look, 50, 60 years ago, okay? If you were doing, say, for example, one that was so people intense that I remember, reservations, travel reservations, airline
Right.
reservations, okay? Dude, if you ran a big airline and you were trying to do reservations back then, which was on paper, the amount of manual labor required, okay, to be able to track all of these things, okay, and to do so. And how, when they first came up with the first computers, we won't have any employees doing this, blah, 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 we'll remove the humans from this. And that was the fear. And it's like, oh my God, who's going to work and whatnot? And well, yes, we did remove a whole bunch of people that were doing a whole bunch of manual shuffling and paper and stuff and whatnot. But in the end, they were put into a whole bunch of other things that actually people figure out. We wind up figuring out, we're really not doing all this other stuff, because we didn't have time, because all of this stuff it was so manual that it didn't let you do any of this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, we, even today, with all the tools that we have, all the computer, whatever, there are so many things that I do, like for my job or for my previous jobs, that are so manual, even with all the computing that we have, that I know that there's a lot of things that probably would be able to drive more sales, that would do that. But look, it's estimated that a lot of salespeople spend 70 and 80% of their time actually doing admin work, not really selling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the fact. I mean, imagine if you take people and and that in a lot of instances, we cover so few of the accounts that are assigned, that if you actually were able to reduce that admin time down, where things could be done a lot easier, it would actually allow people to be able to do far more in terms of the actual selling.
Well, and I think that is true for many jobs, if not
Yeah,
most jobs.
most
Like
jobs are like that.
there's like so much that's overhead. Like, and if you look at what portion of the workday is actually spent doing something that isn't just documenting or tracking
Yep.
or writing a
Yep.
report or whatever, but is actually pushing the ball forward,
Right.
it's a small percentage.
Yes.
For like lots of jobs, not all jobs. There are some
Not
jobs
all jobs
that are structured that 90% of your work actually is productive. But and I use the word
listen,
productive.
I found one.
Look, I just want to say this. I use the word productive lightly here, because some people actually consider sort of those things like status reports to actually be very valuable in communication, so people know what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the kind of thing that is ripe for automation.
But can I tell you something? That one of the things that happens with so many status reports in my life is like so many
No
people
one reads them.
well, no, it's not that. It's maybe people will read them. The problem is that it turning that actionable. One of the
Yes.
things is like, I mean, I still remember that there's this one guy. There's a story when I joined HP a long time ago. They were talking to me about this guy that had been in charge, I believe, of service levels. Okay, all right, and he had all these metrics. He was like the master guru of measuring the service levels and how long to take a call, how long to go repair. He had all these stats, okay, but he was in charge of delivery, not just of measuring. The problem was that they were all red, all of them. And the question was like, yeah, great. So you can measure so you're an expert. You're better than everybody else at measuring all this shit. And all you're saying
you know really well how screwed you are.
Right. But you have to, you don't have the time or don't know how to take any action on any of that shit that you measured that's wrong. So yeah, that's just I think that I think every technology always imparts a high level of fear in people on what their job will be. Okay, and sure, and it has had impact on jobs. Okay, we've seen this, before. But I do think that the problem is always how to deal with the dislocation and how to deal with the change. Because okay, great. So now people are not doing this. So what are we going to do? Or what are we going to do with with the money? Sometimes because hey, you're making more money, but you don't need as many. The economy is bigger, but sometimes, hey, there's certain labor you don't need. So how do you help people? But I don't know. That gets into another day. But anyway, my whole point was like, man, people
you had
are
a
out
point?
there. Yeah, my point is, it goes back to what kind of an asshole goes and bitches to fucking people that are working 120 hours a week that you've got to work harder. That really takes a special level of asshole. And I think that we are in an era of high level assholery.
Yeah, I think so. And we've said, you mentioned earlier, the pendulum has swung.
Yeah.
Well, the pendulum always eventually swings the other way.
Yeah, at some point.
It's just a matter of time.
I saw a whole bunch of air traffic controllers like that walked out in New York or something, forcing United to cancel a whole bunch of flights. That's the kind of like pushback against a whole bunch of this shit that keeps happening in different places. So.
Well, and sometimes it's just a matter of time, and the economics go through a couple cycles or whatever, or people adapt to the technology.
Yep.
But like right now, we are in an era where lots of companies feel free to push really, really hard on their employees.
Oh, yeah.
Because they know the employees don't have a lot of other options. Eventually, things will turn, and there will be lots and lots of options. And then, come on, and then people will be competing for those employees again and trying to offer all kinds of perks and benefits and work-life balance and whatever in order to get those people who are good, and letting them work from home again. All of this other stuff.
And it's eras. I mean, it's eras. Look, I still remember, how I worked an entire, an era where I joined HP when it was like really a company that I mean, my work career is borne this out, that it had a reputation for being one of the best, if not the best, one of the best places to work in the world. And, my later life has shown that wasn't hyperbole. Okay. All right. Because it really, truly was that. And from everybody that I work with who is now in other places, we all talk about, holy shit. I mean, where we worked and how the company treated us and everything. It's just, I'm like, I don't think I appreciate it, but we said we didn't even appreciate it enough how good the treatment of people was at HP and the respect for employee and all of that stuff. And I lived through that transformation into complete assholery.
Right.
Because it went from that into, having Mark Hurd, who's dead, okay, and I'm not really shedding a tear for that asshole, okay, who goes and, like, I still remember, like, every fucking time was, hey, what the fuck do we take away from employees? It was like every fucking announcement, every 6 months, as he announced that our profits were ever higher and higher and higher, it was just like, hey, what do we take away from people? What can we take away? What's the next thing? I'm like, I'm like, motherfucker, you keep saying that we're making more and more money, and all you're making more and more money, and everything you're doing is trying to figure out how to fuck us over more.
Yeah, and we mentioned these things come in cycles, but part of the problem is the cycles are long. It's not like, oh, next year it'll be better. It might be better in 5 or 10 years.
In 5 years, yeah. I mean, they are long. They are long. But that's where we are, and so we are on the era of assholery in general.
Yes, it is not limited to employer-employee relationships.
It's across the board, everywhere.
If you just look at the current administration, that just is exemplar.
Oh, but I'm talking about just even in general daily life.
Yeah, well, it all flows from the top down, because if you demonstrate that a certain type of behavior is acceptable, then more people will engage in that behavior. If there are prominent people who not only are assholes, but seem to get ahead by being assholes.
Yes.
Then more people will strive to be assholes themselves.
Yes! I strive to be an asshole. I want that on a shirt. Put that on some t-shirts. Those probably sell very well right now.
I bet you there is already a t-shirt that says that. I'm gonna strive to be an asshole t-shirt.
Kids growing up right now. Oh yeah, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an asshole. It's my dream.
Let's see. I'm not always an asshole. Just kidding. Go fuck yourself. Stop asking why I'm an asshole. I don't ask why you're stupid. Let's see. I never dreamed I'd grow up to be an asshole, but here I am killing it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm the nicest asshole you will ever meet. There are more, but Alex is throwing things at me for saying asshole too much.
Oh, well.
So I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
So your precise one isn't out there yet.
No.
You could go set it up on one of the sites that lets you set up random t-shirts.
Wait, don't we have a Curmudgeon's Corner merch site? We could, don't we have we could set that up as an option.
We at the moment it's not set up as a merch site that people can just go buy. It's just set up as a place where I can order stuff and send to people.
Set up, because there are all these really cheap ways to set up a merch site. You can just
I know.
And it's all
right now for the stuff I use Zazzle, and actually, Ed has received his new mug.
Yes, all right.
I saw the delivery confirmation notice come in recently, and it's an I Hate Curmudgeon's Corner mug, not a regular Curmudgeon's Corner mug. But Alex did insist on changing, on adding one line somewhere. I think he said it had to say it was a specimen. So I think I have a note on it that says, Alex says specimen or something. So it's different than the one we made for him.
So when you get those fake bills, whatever, that's a sample. It says this is a specimen.
Yeah, except it doesn't
not a specimen like a urinous specimen.
No. But it doesn't have the word all over everything. I just have it in a corner.
No. But usually there are certain ones that you see that it's a small little thing somewhere that it says this is a specimen. Yeah. Okay, so there.
Yeah, but anyway, the point was I set all that up with Zazzle, but Zazzle's shop view is actually kind of sucky. It wasn't. I haven't looked in years, so maybe they've improved it. But you could set it up so anybody could buy the thing you created, but it was hard to make it a controlled experience. Hey, you're in the Curmudgeon's Corner shop, and here's all the Curmudgeon's Corner stuff, and I've constrained it in a certain way so you can only buy the things we want you to buy. you know.
Okay. Okay.
But there are other companies that do that too. So yeah, we
Yeah.
we could look up into it again. I'm sure the demand would be astronomical, but maybe not for the regular Curmudgeon's Corner merch, but for the Curmudgeon's Corner, I strive to be an asshole shirt. Maybe.
There you go.
We could take the image of you from this podcast, have a giant version of your face on one side with a caption of the I strive to be an asshole right under it.
That sounds actually great. That sounds like a fucking great idea.
Alex keeps throwing things at me, so I'm going to stop saying that word for now. Okay, are we ready for my movie?
Yes, we're ready for your movie.
Ready for the movie. So I mentioned before, we've been going through the Ghostbusters series. The next one that I've watched, and actually the last one I've watched it back in August, is Ghostbusters Afterlife from 2021. There's one more movie after this, but I haven't seen the last one.
Once again, I have no idea.
Yeah, and see, last time we talked about like one of the Ghostbusters franchise, we talked about the one with the women. I mentioned, it was worthwhile. People criticized the one with the women, but most of the criticism was just because they were women. And it did,
the standard.
Like it wasn't a great movie. It was an okay movie, but people made it out like it was a horrible movie, and it was not a horrible movie. It was just people being sexist assholes. Oh, oops, I said it again.
Yep.
Oops. Yes. I suddenly started getting the Britney Spears song going through my head, even though it wasn't said it. Okay, my head is starting to become injured. I'm going to get a concussion from all the cups being thrown at me. They are plastic cups, just to be clear.
They are, thank God.
Yes. He's not like throwing
you mugs. Then right.
Yeah. No mugs, no hammers yet. But I wonder if I continue. Anyway. Ghostbusters Afterlife is 2021. Unlike the one with the women, it's in the original continuity of the first two movies. Okay.
Okay.
So what you actually get is the what is it? Is it like the main character you follow is the granddaughter of Egon Spengler from the first movie.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay. And her brother's there too. Her mother's there. A couple other things. They end up. I'll read you the beginning of the plot summary. So no big spoilers. In Summersville, Oklahoma, Egon Spengler captures an entity in occultist Ivo Shandor's mine outside the town and lures another to his farm. He activates an elaborate setup on his property, but the power fails. Egon manages to conceal the ghost trap in his home before being attacked by the entity and suffering a fatal heart attack, and the entity returns to the mine. Egon's estranged, financially struggling daughter, Callie, inherits the farm and moves there with her children, Trevor and Phoebe, after being evicted from their Chicago apartment. Trevor becomes infatuated with car hop Lucky Domingo, and the scientifically minded Phoebe enrolls in a summer science class taught by seismologist Gary Guberson, with whom Callie later dates. Phoebe discovers the farmhouse is haunted, and the poltergeist residing in it leads her to the ghost trap, which she shows to Gary and her new friend. Her new friend Podcast. Gary, a fan of the Ghostbusters, helps her learn more about them and her grandfather. He, Phoebe, and Podcast tamper with the trap, releasing Vinz Clortho, key master of Gozor the Gozerian, which escapes to the mine. The farm ghost leads Phoebe to Egon's underground laboratory, and I will stop there.
Okay.
It starts to get spoilery after that. Anyway, it does have cameos from the original Ghostbusters later in the movie. Obviously, there was a bit with Egon at the very beginning, but to be clear, this was filmed after the actor for Egon, who was not Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd's still alive. Yvonne Reitman. Is that right?
Ivan Reitman.
Ivan Reitman. Yeah, was already dead when they filmed this movie, or he died while it was filming, or something like that. So anyway, so he appears in cameos anyway through the magic of cinema. But I look, thumbs up. I actually really liked this movie.
Okay.
I'd say it gives the original a run for its money. It is different. Like it's definitely a modern 2020s movie, not a 1980s movie, but I think that actually makes it better. It's still, got its comedic elements, but it's not so much a straight up comedy as the original Ghostbusters was.
There's Harold Ramis. I'm sorry.
Harold
Ramis was a director that actually died
yes.
as well.
Yes, Harold Ramis. Sorry, right.
Who looked like one of our college
right.
dead ringer for Al.
Right. But anyway, I really liked it. Like, it's a different style than the original, but I think it's just as good. I mean, if I had to say which of the Ghostbusters movies would I want to see again, I would pick this one over the original right now. Now, having said that, that's partially because I've seen the original quite a few times at this point. I've only seen this one once, but yeah, I liked it. It was funny. It was sort of heartwarming at the right places. It had just enough of the lore of the original so that you felt connected to the original, but it was moving the story onward and bringing in new characters to continue the story. Which, by the way, is the way I prefer continuations after a long period of time. Sometimes, and we've talked about this on the show before, but sometimes complete reboots work. And the new version is good in its own ways. And I'll point to, for instance, Battlestar Galactica. They're the newer, and they're apparently redoing a new reboot of Battlestar Galactica soon.
Well, by the way, I love the reboot of Star Trek.
No, well,
I know
many reboots of Star Trek at this point, but
no, but the last one,
the last one. So that
the three movies that were
you're talking movies, not because there've been like 5 new Star Trek TV series in the last couple of years.
Well, yeah, not so much the TV series, but more enough, because in the movie era, I mean, you had like that series of movies that was by J.J. Abrams that he did that a lot of people criticized, but I actually thought, I thought they were great. I actually enjoyed them.
I haven't even watched all of them. I think I watched the first 2 maybe, but I was not impressed by them. I thought they were okay, but you could tell how little impressed I was that I didn't bother seeing the last one.
I like them very much. You see, but there were a lot of people that shared.
But also, even that one, by the way, they actually made a connection to the original series. It wasn't actually a real reboot.
Correct.
Because they had Spock fall backwards in time and create a new timeline.
Correct.
And he was in it, with the older Spock. So, so they maintained the continuity with the original. Sometimes, the Battlestar Galactica one was completely
rebooted. Yeah.
Although at the very end of the series, they sort of did hint at connections to the original.
I'll tell you one thing, that the Battlestar Galactica, the second one itself, compared to the first series, was so much more dystopian. I mean, not that the first one wasn't in that sense, in the sense of, all the humans were almost annihilated. They had to escape on ships.
Right.
I think that the tone of the second one was far darker, and I think that the other thing that they did is that they visualized and presented a lot more what actually happened during the attack.
Right, a lot more of the suffering.
Oh yeah. It's because on the first series that got very little play. It was just a little bit of, you saw that the planets were attacked, that they escaped, and that's it. Boom.
Right. Well, and this is also a thing where, after so many decades pass, it's a difference in, what the style of television is, right? Like the original premiered in 1978. The new one was 2003. A substantial difference in how things are done. But my point though is just that, sometimes people do complete reboots, wipe the slate clean, brand new cast. They reset it perhaps in a different time. They make different assumptions about the characters, and it really is a whole new show that just takes some of the same premises and does it again. That's one way of doing it. And I'm always a little wary of those. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And then the other way is you actually say, we're going to pick up the same story 20 years later. And so the original characters are older, but they're still around, or at least they're in the history of the show, even if the actor's not available. And, and you refer to the events of the first series and you continue the story for there. That also sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work, but I generally prefer that second approach to the first. I feel like it gives more respect to the original, and whenever you do the complete reboot, I kind of feel sad that you really and truly are burying the old version. Whereas the new version, whereas if you continue it, it's more like a celebration of the old version. It's all part of the same thing. And so I like it when they do the second better than when they like the first. And anyway, the point is, even within the Ghostbusters franchise, I think the one where they rebooted it completely was the one with the women, and it sort of fell flat on its face. And again, part of that was people being sexist and jerks. But part of it was you get less of you don't get the nostalgia effect if you don't connect it to the original. In this one, in Ghostbusters Afterlife, they connected it to the original two movies. They connected it to the original characters. The original characters made cameos as themselves. Like the one with the women, the original characters did make cameos, but playing different people. In this one, the original characters made cameos as themselves. And it was like, oh, that's great. It's good to see what they're up to these days, Anyway. I liked it. Big thumbs up to Ghostbusters Afterlife. There's one more, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I have not seen that yet. Eventually, I will see that.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Maybe I'll see that soon. I don't know. But anyway, this is one, Yvonne, where I recommend you go ahead.
To the punch on watching some movies, which is stunning.
I recommend you go ahead and watch all the Ghostbusters movies. Start at the original and work your way forward. Don't skip the one with the women. It's not awesome, but it's not horrible. But give it its due service to sort of counteract the jerks. See, I'm using the word jerk now. And watch the new ones too. I don't know. Maybe the very most recent one sucks. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. But I liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. There you go. Okay. With that, we will take a break. And after this break, I don't know. Yvonne will pick something to talk about. We'll talk about it for a while. Then I'll take a break and I'll pick something. Or we'll take a break. I mean, I guess I could take a break and Yvonne could keep going.
Yeah.
But that would be weird.
That's possible. That would be strange, but yeah.
You could talk straight through the spot, just giving your thoughts on something or other.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Anyway, here's a break. We'll be back in a moment.
What?
No, that was bad. Oh, no, that was bad. No, I don't like that either. Once upon a rainbow, you were on the floor, eating the bugs that you found upon my face. No, that's what? Bye. Okay, we're back.
We're back. And we're bad. They
So
were
I
good.
kept looking over to see what Yvonne was doing during your break, but it's still his big frozen face.
Yeah, I'm still, frozen.
So anyway, what do you want to talk
Uh,
about? What do you want to talk about? There's been stuff going on. It's been longer than normal since we recorded the show early last time. Oh, I guess I should mention my surgery went fine. It went well. I had the thing cut out of me, and then the next day I had plastic surgery to patch up the big open wound that I had. It was like, I don't know, the size of a dime across and several millimeters deep in my nose. Maybe even slightly bigger
I
than
mean,
that.
given your lobotomy, it doesn't sound like anything. You don't sound very different.
Yeah, and then they patched it up. They didn't have to take skin from my forehead. They what they described it as, they rotated the skin on my nose to cover up the injury, but apparently it was like big enough that it would never have healed properly on its own. So that's why they did the plastic surgery. I got the stitches out a week later,
Why
and
do we even call this plastic surgery? It's not like they put in plastic.
they did not put in plastic. It was
Yeah, I mean, because it would be very
okay.
weird if we were.
Cosmetic surgery,
Well, but they do
reconstructive
call
surgery.
it. But they do call it plastic surgery, and I'm just like, why don't what the hell? We're not patching people up with plastic, okay?
Sometimes they are.
Rarely at this point, I'm assuming, but for the most part,
Sometimes
we're
plastic,
not.
sometimes silicone, sometimes other things. But yeah, you're right. It's not usually actually plastic.
Because that would be very weird. If we were just, all of a sudden, hey, I just came back from my plastic surgery and your nose is made out of plastic.
Yes, indeed. That might
You would look like a clown.
Well, it depends. They can make some realistic looking plastic.
We could put like a permanent clown nose.
Well, Alex did a image edit of me with a Muppet nose and has been sending it around to people. He didn't send it to the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack. Maybe you should do that now, Alex. But yeah. So he's but yeah. Like, no, I mean, they make like the Madame Tussauds stuff that look realistic. They make the animatronics at Disney that look realistic.
Yeah, you're right.
You could substitute a brand new. Oh, I actually saw Yvonne moving instead of the freeze frame again.
Hey, I am moving again. What the hell? Okay. All right.
Yvonne's back. And anyway, for those of you listening to the podcast later, this means nothing to you. Anyway, it looks fine. I still have a little bit of swelling. I still have to put Vaseline on it, and I'm supposed to be careful about sunlight for a full year.
You're not supposed to be using that for sex.
I was putting it on my nose.
Right.
And okay.
Hey, what are you doing? Okay.
Anyway, I'm supposed to wear sunscreen and a hat for a full year, to keep the sun.
You should always wear sunscreen.
Well, that's what they told me, actually, is that you be sure to do this for a year, and actually forever, because you should have been doing it anyway.
Yeah. I usually try to I'll say that I do a lot of times when I know that I'm going to be out in the sun, I do put on sunscreen on my face more than anything. And actually on the back of my head where it's a little bit bald, I always try to make sure that doesn't get. But I do try, if I'm going to be outdoors, and to wear a hat. I mean, if I'm just walking to the car, that just seems like a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, there's still a little bit of swelling, and I think the shape is slightly different than it used to be, but whatever. It doesn't look too bad. There's going to be a small scar, but whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so I was giving the update since I was reminded it. What I was saying is it's been longer since our last episode than usual. It's been like a week and a half instead of a week. So stuff has happened. So what do you want to talk about, Yvonne?
Okay, so Sam, Trump has only been in office for little more than 100 daais.
Doesn't it seem like so much longer?
God, it seems like it's been a year. Jesus Christ. How's approval doing, Sam?
Oh, great.
Okay.
He's the most popular president ever.
According to Trump, yes. How's he doing?
Oh, it's been horrible. You know,
I mean, right now he has the worst. I mean, if you look up almost every metric in terms of stock market, uh, economy, like just about anything, he is performing at a rate that's worse than any time that we've ever tracked this shit. Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, look, people have generated all kinds of charts. I'm looking at approval right now. There are a whole bunch out there. I'm looking at the one from The Economist right now. If you Google Economist Trump approval tracker, you'll find it. But there's like a half dozen of these. There's RCP. There's a whole bunch. Nate Silver has one.
Bulletin.
The Silver Bulletin. 538 doesn't exist anymore, but there are all these others out there. Anyway, Trump had already been the lowest net approval of any president since they started polling, other than his first term. That had been true almost since the day one of his presidency. A couple weeks ago, he is now doing worse than his first term for the first time.
Congratulations! Yay!
Yeah, and so now it's just straight up the worst net approval of any president since there was regular polling of this question. And like you said, all kinds of other metrics too, in terms of how the stock market has done in the first 100 days. Worst ever start for presidency. Yeah. Hell, in terms of how much legislation Congress has passed. Like I think I read they have passed and had signed 6 bills in these 100 days.
And in comparison, how's that?
Oh, I think it's usually in the mid double digits, like 50 or 60 by this time. I don't have those numbers ahead of me in front of me, so I'm going by memory, but much higher, even by the standards of recent Congresses, which has
been very low on the productivity scale.
Yeah. And of course, number of bills isn't a really great measure anyway, which is why I stopped tracking it myself. Well, also because it was too much work.
Well, I mean, but it is a measure. I mean, look, I mean, if you're Congress and you're not passing bills, the fuck are you doing?
Now, the one metric that he has blown away every previous president is executive orders. He has issued more executive orders. He's like, I believe he's more than doubled, maybe even more than tripled the previous record for the number of executive orders in the first 100 days.
I mean, I mean, everything is every other week they come up with some fucking executive order on something, and it's like on, like on something, just on whatever the fuck it is. I mean, you all of a sudden you read the news, and you're like, wait, he's doing what? He made an executive order on what? I mean, it went on fucking shower heads.
Yes.
That's
been pissing off Donald Trump for years. I remember him talking about it in 2016.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, shower heads. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just there's always an executive order on something. Okay, targeting individuals.
Okay, so let me. I think there have been more since then. This is through April 29th, which is the first 100 days. For the last. Going back through Clinton. No, going back through Reagan. Although they don't have George H.W. Bush on this list. I don't know why. Anyway, so Trump had, I'm going off a graph, so I'm estimating the numbers, about 85 in the first 100 days. Next highest was Obama at about 65. So I was wrong about the doubling, but still significantly higher. Next above that was about 55 for Reagan. About just over 50 for Clinton. Just under 50 for George H.W. Bush. So, for George W. Bush. For some reason, George H.W. is missing here.
Or maybe he just didn't do many.
Or none. I don't know.
Or none.
I should look that up, but I'm not going to.
Okay. So, I mean, 100 days, one of the things that happened is the tariffs. So we're tariffed. Peter Navarro had gone on TV and said that we are going to be able
Oh,
to negotiate
sorry,
90
I
deals.
screwed up. I did not properly look up that graph.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Correction.
That was the first 100 days of his first term.
Oh, so what's the current term?
Well, now I'm going to have to go find it because apparently I failed in finding it the first time. Let's see.
My goodness.
I have seen this graph, but now I'm not going to be able to find this stupid thing. Let me add.
Just ask how many executive orders. Here, let me see. Hey Siri, how many executive orders has Donald Trump signed in his current presidential term?
Do you want me to use ChatGPT?
Yes, do. Okay, here we go. Which I figured it was going to do.
Looks like 102.
Working with ChatGPT.
No,
okay,
so as of May 3rd, 2025, President Donald Trump has signed 89 executive orders in his current term, from EO 14,147 through EO 14,235. That was from ChatGPT. Check important info for mistakes.
Yeah,
okay.
I've got there. He has signed 3 today, so that information is out of date.
Okay.
I have an executive order tracker. It's theexecutiveordertracker.com. It lists 43 in progress because after he signs them, it takes a couple weeks for them to get into the Federal Register and be in effect. He's got 43 in progress, 3 that have been blocked by the courts, and 69 total. So whatever's, and 3 with an unclear status. So if you add up all these numbers,
plus 43, 70 plus what? Oh my God, 113, 112. 69 plus 43 is 112 plus what else?
Plus 6 more.
So 118.
118.
Okay, so that is a record pace by a lot.
By a lot, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do people are people really liking all this stuff?
No, we went through his approval rating before being the lowest ever. I mean, the diehards of the diehards, they're never going to give him up no matter what. But all of these people who are sort of like, oh, I don't know, I'll vote for Trump because I liked the economy in his first term, forgetting the second half of his first term, and because like Biden's old. And Biden hasn't done all the things I want to do, and I want change. Damn it! All those people are like going
change.
Yeah, those people are like.
Well, you could go to the national.
This isn't what I meant. Yes, the national change.
What you meant. Well, yeah, it was a SNL reference, but yeah, the change for I always find.
Oh, and now I find the damn chart. Okay, so I will give you a reference to not only this chart but a bunch of others. This is from the New York Times, published on April 29th, which was the 100-day mark. Trump's astonishing 100 days in 8 charts. So the very first one is the executive orders, shows how much higher he is. The next closest, which our previous chart did not go back to, is FDR in 1941, who also was over 100.
Okay.
The next chart was
there was a war going. Well, there was World War II going on, so I'm like, okay, I'll give FDR a pass.
Yeah, the next two, number 2 and number 3, are FDR in 1941 and FDR in 1937. Followed by Truman in 1945, then Biden in 2021. Those are the top 5. The next chart is how much he's been sued in federal court against the president. And he's
got to break a record of some kind.
He has got, I'm eyeballing from the chart, around 250 lawsuits so far. The next closest was Trump in 2017, who was only at 115 or something. And then after that was Bush in 2005 and Obama in 2013. The next chart. Revenue from tariffs. He's actually number 1. Number 2 is Biden.
No, get out of here.
Then the dollar plunged. The dollar has plunged more than any of these other comparison presidents there. And it's weird here, Yes.
Yes.
The next worst was Nixon in 1973. Then markets.
Of course, Nixon's 73. Okay, the main thing, 73 was the year of the oil shock, if I remember correctly. So that's why the dollar plunged. I'm pretty sure that's
Well,
that's
and
what happened in 73.
speaking of markets, Trump 2025 first 100 days was not the worst ever, which I believe I said before. Nixon 1973 was actually worse, and Ford 1974 was worse as well. They're close.
Okay, so
both.
So by the way, for those that don't know, just because I say that oil shock, like everybody knows what it is, okay? But you know, in October 1973, OPEC announced that it was implementing a total oil embargo against countries that had supported Israel at any point during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, which began after Egypt and Syria launched their large-scale surprise attack. And that was, you know, a massive shock. The price of oil rose by nearly 300%, okay? From $3 per barrel to nearly $12 a barrel globally. Prices in the United States were significantly higher than the global average. Okay, so it was even higher than that. After it was implemented, the embargo caused an oil crisis, oil shock, which many short-term effects on global economy as well as global politics. So think about this, like right now, how you know, current price of oil being at $70 a barrel. Imagine if, like, overnight, it went to what, $200+ a barrel. What the impact on the economy would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, that was a brutal one. 73 with Nixon, but
so
but this one, here's the funny thing. But here's the thing, that was an external shock. Trump managed to do the same thing by doing it himself.
Yeah, there you go. The rest of the charts on this one, fewer State Department briefings than all these other presidencies. Significantly lower.
His budget request for the State Department, his budget request cut the budget for the State Department by 85%.
Federal funding for medical research, the lowest of all of these other recent presidents, is almost half the level.
Medical research. Who needs medical research?
His approval.
We got RFK Jr., man. What do we need that medical research for?
Yeah. So then approval. This chart, we talked net approval before. This is just approval. So straight approval wise, Trump 2017 is still worse than 2025 if you don't take the net and you just take the approval number.
Okay.
But it appears to be dropping faster than it did in 2017. And that's the last.
He's being more effective.
Yes. And it's important to keep in mind, the people who do still approve of Donald Trump, many of them think he's doing awesome and all this stuff is great.
Not
all of them.
Not
all of them.
Wait. No, I've heard a whole bunch of them actually. No. Say, oh, this really hurt me. This is so bad. But I still trust them anyway.
Right.
Which is even dumber. It's just ridiculous. They're like, oh yeah, I lost my job because of him, and I can't afford anything, and you know, we're economically hurt, but hey, I still trust him. Damn it. He's my guy. Sounds like
right.
Like the victim, this sounds like, honestly, and I'm not minimizing this in any way, like the victims of like spousal abuse.
Yeah, very much so.
This is like battered spouse, behavior. I mean, because the reality is that everything he has done, the people he has fucked the worst, for the most part, are people that voted for him.
Yeah.
Think about Wall Street. Now, Wall Street, okay, wound up on, we're going to go on the Trump bandwagon because, he's going to cut regulations and stuff, or whatever. We're going to cut taxes. Everything's going to be great. First guys that got fucked Wall Street. Boom. Completely, just absolutely annihilated them. Farmers, okay? Farmers are getting killed by the tariffs. Killed, okay? This whole tariff trade this is fucking screwing them. And they're still going around saying, oh, yeah, Trump's my guy. Yeah, I can't sell my soybeans, but hey, Trump's still a genius.
Right. Of course he is. Okay. Obviously this segment is the 100-day mark. So what else do we want to say about how the first 100 days have been going? Anything?
I think the one thing on immigration, and do you have any stats there on deportations? How are they tracking versus?
I did not. Like one other.
That would be a good one to look up.
I will look at it while I'm talking though. I have seen, by the way, one of like the whole Dodge thing is like to cut federal spending.
Oh yeah,
and I have seen charts that now the future spending may still be affected, but there are charts of the actual dollar outlays from the federal government for these first 100 days
are higher.
Yes. Are higher than, well, I don't think they're comparing from 4 years ago, but compared to last year, 2025 compared to 2020.
Compared to, exactly. Sequentially, they're higher.
Yes,
they're higher. Yes.
Yeah.
So Doge is costing money. And even like when but also, even if you take that out, the savings that were realized, okay, in terms of savings realized versus savings promised, it's about, I guess it's the standard like Elon Musk promise to delivery ratio, which is over 90% less than what he promised. Okay, all right. So and that's par for the course for Elon in everything that we've seen the last decade at this point. So that part is there. And I think also that if you probably measure the cost of the economy of a lot of the things that he got rid of, in the end, even though you saved the money, maybe technically for the second year after severance or whatever for that, the cost of the economy is probably going to be higher. I mean, people, you're getting less federal spending. And the return is that you're going to have more costs across the board from eliminating programs that actually helped in many ways, like in terms of climate forecasts, in terms of give you an example, one that always adds cost. That's simple. Okay, FAA understaffing. Okay, all right. For example, you save a few billion on that. The cost of the airlines from airline delays, okay, that they got far outweighs whatever you spent there. Another great example. We're cutting, people at the IRS left and right. Okay, cutting people at the IRS usually whatever you cut, the multiplier in terms of lost revenue is way higher. So the savings are bullshit because you're saving. We're going to save a few billion here in people inspecting tax returns. Well, that means that a lot of people that are skating without paying their fucking taxes because we got rid of the people that make sure they do. So that so many of these, okay, and those are short-term costs. As a matter of fact, the stats are showing already the tax, receipts outside of the stupid tariffs, they're down. The deficit is way higher than it's been. So they haven't saved a damn dime, okay, from any of this. So that's a savings. You getting close on the deportations there?
Yeah, I have one number. This is from Forbes, which we've discussed before.
Yeah, shaky. Yeah,
not shaky as a source, but they say that so far during Trump's first 100 days, he has averaged 660 deportations a day.
Okay, so 660.
The average for all of last year for Biden was 742 a day.
So bottom line is, once again, what he's done is be more cruel about them, but not more effective at removing people.
Right.
Yeah. Let's be arbitrary. Let's be unfair. And all we want to do, because of course they're trying to do what the heck is this thing they keep talking about?
I will say the same Forbes article indicates that the Trump administration disputes those numbers, and that the actual deportation rate should be higher because they are reporting numbers that also include deportation by the Coast Guard and Customs and Border Protection, like I guess turning people away at the border and counting those, as well as counting people who self-deported using the CBP app. So they're counting those. But I figure if it's apples to apples, then you're
not deporting as many people.
Yeah.
And it's just you're making it more cruel and arbitrary. That's all you're doing.
Right. And it's been pointed out too that this is not the worst of the worst. We're getting the horrible criminals and kicking them out.
Oh,
most
no.
of these are just normal people that
Yeah,
where the only thing they've done wrong is the actual immigration offense. That's it.
And or like all of these that Marco Rubio is threatening all these people that if you've got a visa and that we're going to revoke your visa if you did some kind of they're trying to revoke visas for people that got speeding tickets.
Yeah. Or the big example of was people who, like the woman who wrote an editorial on Gaza, but yeah, they're trying to do speeding tickets. They're trying to use any possible excuse.
But again, the reality is that it goes back to, like I said, the numbers are not at anywhere near the pace that he's wanted to do it. And all they've managed to do is because they're focusing so much on they are so focused on the show more than the effectiveness as usual. Okay, that is all that counts. You have the photo op with Miss $3,000 purse, the purse with $3,000. In front of a jail, wearing her $50,000-$60,000 Rolex. In front of the fucking jail, down there as the photo op that they do. That's the shit that they like. By the way, aside from that, for her being such a publicity fucking dog, the other day as I was crossing through TSA, all of a sudden I hear her. I'm like, what the fuck? So they replaced this video that, as far as I recall, I think it may have
a video. For a second, I thought you were going to say she was right there in person.
Oh, fuck, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, thank God, no. I'm like, and they, on all the TVs now, when you're crossing TSA, they have a video showing her face, telling you, about the procedures to cross through security. And I was just like, I don't think that the last one had a video of the face of the Homeland Security Secretary.
Right.
But she's such a fucking publicity hound that I guess she was like, no, like Trump, give me a video. Oh, by the way, another cost-saving thing. Did you see that Trump apparently somehow has managed to finagle himself a new Air Force One?
I saw what he's doing, yes. I wouldn't call it quite that, but yeah, I mean, I guess it will be if he flies in it. It's Air Force One, period.
Right.
Tell the story. Is that save a lot of money?
Not as far as I can tell. Here's the thing about it, and the worst thing is that he's going out. There was the Qatari government. Many years ago, had purchased a brand new 747-8, which is the latest version of the 747, a passenger one, okay, and it outfitted for VIP travel, okay. It's an extremely, extremely posh, over the top, ridiculous interior, okay, and I know that the government, they've been trying to sell it for a long time, okay, they're just not using it, and they were like, we'll sell this thing. It's ridiculous. Okay. So they were shopping it, and apparently Trump went and saw this. And so somehow they managed to, I guess, acquire this aircraft in some way. And they're doing this conversion where they're adding all of this stuff to this aircraft so Trump can travel on it. And what they said is they're going to add it as a third aircraft to the fleet of Air Force Ones right now, because they said that the Air Force had been looking to make sure that they could get a third aircraft because, the other aircraft are old, and they are old, okay? They were delivered in the 90s, okay? And that, for reliability and whatever, to make sure that we could have an aircraft that could serve as a third aircraft, okay? I really think that this is bullshit. Trump is just obsessed on getting a new fucking airplane, okay? He wants this new airplane. It looks a lot more luxurious than the current Air Force
He wants
One.
his new colors.
And he wants his new colors, okay, as well. He's insisting on changing the colors, okay? But I have a feeling that because how complex any of these renovations that need to be for him to be able to really use it, he's going to wind up again. We're going to have three fucking Air Force Ones that are going to be under construction, and none of them will be flyable anytime soon. Okay?
Didn't they say also that like some of the things they wanted to, some of the requirements for Air Force One that aren't in the stock planes can't be retrofitted if you're not building it from scratch to be this?
I mean, it's very difficult to do so. I mean, you're basically having to fucking strip apart the whole fucking plane to do so.
Well,
and that's the problem.
Are they going to let him fly it without all those things? Because that's a safety concern too. But this administration doesn't seem to care about that shit.
I mean, look,
and a national security.
Can I just say this? That if I got, if Donald Trump puts himself in a security risk where he gets shut down because he's an idiot because he wants to fly a new fucking plane, I'm not going to be crying over it. Because he's such a fucking asshole,
and he doesn't put in like the whatever extra classified security stuff that Air Force One has.
Air Force One has fucking military countermeasures, that are a secret, on that fucking plane. I don't see how they're going to take a fucking stock 747-8.
And we know this because of the movie with Harrison Ford.
No,
which I have not seen. I've seen clips of it, but I've not seen the movie. It's on the list.
I some speculate that there are some things that are shown in that movie that it has. I'm guessing most not, but I am guessing. Things that they have said is like stuff that blocks like laser aiming, radar jamming, other kind of stuff like that. I mean, the plane, you're carrying, he's not the leader of the free world anymore. You're carrying this, the president of the United States on the thing, and so he's a target. And so obviously you want as many security measures. Look, the biggest mistake in this whole procurement thing with the fucking Air Force jets was this whole thing where they decided to try to, instead of building 2 new airplanes, to start with fucking refitting 2 built planes.
So the plan was to refit them anyway.
Well, not the Qatari one.
No, but I mean the other ones that were part of the existing contract.
They took 2 because they were bitching about how much it was going to cost, and so Boeing had produced 2 747-8s for this Russian airline. Okay, that never took delivery of them because they went bankrupt. Okay, this was even before the sanctions and whatever. Okay, and they decided that those are the fucking planes that they were going to refit those. So that way, technically, supposed to save money, and in the end, it's they haven't saved any money. The project's been, it's made the project go so much slower. And right now, there was a message said the speculation is that Boeing won't be able to deliver these aircraft for another 10 years. I mean, okay. I'm like, kind of fucking 10 years. They said 2035. Which to me seems crazy because this thing has been already going on for almost 10 years.
Trump's going to have to fly commercial.
That would be great. I'm sure that I will go, I'm sure that will go perfectly fine. He won't be bothered by anybody.
No. I mean, honestly, push comes to shove, the Air Force has lots of planes.
The Air Force definitely has quite
not
a lot
all of them are like super comfy like Air Force One. but they've got
there
lots of
are
planes.
a lot of comfy ones. I mean, there's 757s that are VIP configuration. There's other aircraft. There definitely are. There are a number of aircraft that we have private jets, Gulfstreams, 757s, 737s. I mean, the Air Force has a big ass fucking VIP fleet of aircraft. Okay. But he wants this guy. Hey, I'm gonna make everybody like eat cake, but and have only two dolls instead of 30, because apparently kids get $30 for Christmas. Okay, so we found out, and they realized that they got most kids got 30 Barbie dolls. Okay, but now they gotta get two, and he's gonna get he wants his new shiny 747 painted in his colors.
Right, of course.
It's the most ridiculous fucking thing ever. So,
and it'll have a big copy of his face and striving to be an asshole on the side.
Oh, we'll get those shirts. Yeah, for that. Yeah, I like. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, good. Yeah, I like it.
Your 747 will have your face.
Yes. We're gonna get a 747 for the Curmudgeon's Quarter 747. There's gonna be the Curmudgeon's Quarter 747. Yes. That sounds like just yeah. I mean, we need a 747. I think there was a band, Iron Maiden, that had bought some old 747-400s that we're using for a tour, but they crashed one of them. So I don't think I really it's not a good omen, to see that they crashed one. I think it was in Chile or something that they crashed one. I think we could just stick to commercial.
Okay, we can do that.
We can do that.
Okay, let's take a break, and then it's my turn. Unless you have more. You have more Trumpy first 100 days stuff that you're anxious to get out.
No. Let's go. Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Then here comes the break. Now remember, you do not get to take this break. I am taking this break. During this break, you need to recite Hamlet's soliloquy. You got this? You got it set? Okay, here we go.
I'll be able to do that.
AlexandZilla.com. Bang Alex and Dad. Gaming, videos, and more from Alex. Elementary school by day. YouTube by night. AlexandZilla.com. Alexandzilla is ALEXMXELA, and .com is period and then COM.
Okay. So Yvonne had to step away for a second during the break. So I will read Hamlet's soliloquy while waiting for him to get back. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. When we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of dispersed love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscious doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. There we go. And Yvonne is back.
Wow. Stunning.
There you go.
Stunning. Simply stunning.
Hamlet's soliloquy. Not from memory. I did read it.
Yeah. Well,
I only know like the first couple lines of it. I do know to be or not to be, that is the question, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
I only get to that is the question. I don't know.
That's as much.
Yeah, I only get to the part where it says that is the question. I'm done out.
Okay. Alex is covering my eyes. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or by opposing end them. Did I miss something?
There you go.
Did I miss something? Or to take arms against a sea of troubles. I did miss one line. I missed one.
No. Better than what I could do.
So it's my turn.
It's your turn.
I don't feel like talking about Donald Trump. I have a thing on the list about talking about trade and tariffs and all that kind of stuff. I don't feel like it either. We did have elections in Canada and actually Australia, both of which did not go the conservative way. We have some tech stuff with Apple and Meta, but no, what I feel like talking about is blue sky. We haven't talked about the social media landscape in a long time. And recently, like in the last few weeks, for a long time, I've had a Blue Sky account. I had a Threads account. I obviously, I didn't actually cancel the X account, but I haven't logged in years at this point. I haven't logged in forever. And I've mostly been using my Mastodon account, but I was hearing more and more activity around Blue Sky. Like when Threads first launched, a bunch of sort of the journalists and celebrities and academics and such, they were all going to Threads, but Threads sort of plateaued, and Threads also made a very conscious decision. They said as much, where they did not want to be a platform for breaking news. So they were not optimizing it in a way to sort of surface those. Now, I was always just looking at the following feed anyway, not the recommended algorithmic feed, but Threads sort of seemed to have plateaued for that kind of stuff. And we got to a point where it seemed like all of the news organizations and reporters and scientists and all of those kinds of folks, all of the internet personalities that once upon a time I followed on Twitter, who had left Twitter and not ended up on Mastodon, it seemed like they were all going to Blue Sky. So I decided to give it another try. I'd still, both Threads and Blue Sky, I'd been logging in every once in a while and just sort of looking at it, but I wasn't taking it seriously. I wasn't spending a lot of time there. I wasn't taking time to make sure I was following the people I wanted to follow. So a couple weeks ago, I started doing that. Also, I was prompted, on Mastodon, I use Ivory as my main client. The people who make Ivory, Tapbots, announced like a month ago that they are going to be making a Blue Sky client as well.
Okay.
It's not actually going to be out until sometime in the summer, and even then only in like alpha or something, some sort of developer preview, and so probably late this year by the time it has general availability. But I'm like, okay, I'll try it, and for now I'll use the official client. So I've been playing with Blue Sky more. I've been using the main thing also, when I was using Blue Sky before, I was only looking at it. I was not posting, I was not replying, I was not favoriting, I was not engaging anyway on Blue Sky. I was only looking. I've started to do all those things. I've started to make sure I'm checking Blue Sky on a regular basis, make sure I'm following more and more people I'm interested in. I've been one of the things that Blue Sky allows is it lets you subscribe to custom feeds that are created in a few different ways. I subscribe to a few of those, so I have my regular following feed. I have another feed that's just mutual followers, like people who I follow who also follow me back. I have a feed that's my following feed, but only original posts, not reposts. I've got some for news and for science and a few other things. So I've been trying to make use of it. I also, by the way, I set up the wiki of the day, Blue Sky, and set up the automation for that. I also have set up a Curmudgeon's Corner Blue Sky, but I haven't set up the automation for that yet. We'll see it. I'll do it at some point. So that it posts new episodes when they come out and stuff like that. And I, by the way, I set those all up with my domain. So like, I'm no longer abblesmay.bsky.social on Blue Sky. I'm just abblesmay.com on social. And the wiki of the day one is wikioftheday.com on Blue Sky. And Curmudgeon's Corner is curmudgeons-corner.com on Blue Sky. So go follow us, even though there's nothing on the Curmudgeon's Corner one yet. Bottom line, my initial, I don't yet think I have a full experience that I want there. I'm not following enough people yet. And I probably want to have a few more rules. Like one thing I haven't found on Blue Sky yet, and maybe I just haven't looked hard enough, is the equivalent of lists. I make heavy use of and I guess maybe I could make my own feed. That would essentially be what a list is. But in the previous platforms, in Twitter and then in Mastodon, I've made heavy use of lists. Specifically, I'll have all of the people I follow, and there's that feed. But I make another feed that's just people who post about the news, and I actually spend most of my time on that list. And so I don't quite have the equivalent of that yet. I mean, I did subscribe to a news custom feed on Blue Sky, but it's not the same because mine is people who talk about the news and post about the news a lot, not just news stories from news sources, which is what that news feed is. But the main thing is just, I'm finding a lot of the people who I used to follow on Twitter that I have not seen much of for a couple years now because they weren't on Mastodon and I wasn't checking the other places on any sort of regular basis. And I'm finding them now on Blue Sky, which I'm like, oh, that person, I haven't seen them in a long time. And it's kind of refreshing to see some of those people again. And, I'm still building up my experience there. And, I think, since I guess Blue Sky is all the following feed. Some of these custom feeds are algorithmic feeds. Like there's a Discover feed and there's a best of your followers, or there are a few different algorithmic feeds you can follow. But the default is here's a chronological feed of the people that you follow. And for that kind of feed to be good, you need to be following a lot of people. And I'm still working on building up.
Well, one of the things is that I have been, and I guess maybe the reason why I think maybe you started jumping more Blue Sky because I have been using it more in like the last 6 months, like maybe a little bit more around there that I started using it more than I'd been using Mastodon. And well, I must admit that at first I avoided Blue Sky because. You remember? I remember. Like, it was like invite only.
It was invite only, and I had someone who was offering to give you an invite, and you were like, "I don't want it."
Well, the main reason I didn't want it is because, to be clear, it was really like Jack Dorsey was one of the driving forces at fucking Blue Sky, and Jack Dorsey's another fucking. That's the one thing that changed significantly because he's originally one of the driving forces at Blue Sky. And Jack Dorsey is a fucking asshole, and I'm like, no, man, I'm just.
You don't want to just trade one asshole for another, yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, I know that it threads at Meta. Well, Meta is complicated because, Zuckerberg is he's just more grifter. But now he's gone like full, well, I don't know if he believes any of his own bullshit. Trump won and he's like, oh yeah, I'm mad. Listen, I'm changing my shirt. I'm my new shirt. I'm MAGA now, baby. I'm like, oh, for the love of God. He's like, Mark, that's it. Zuck is like Marco Rubio. That's who he is. Fucking like exactly like him. He may not believe any of this bullshit or whatnot, but he'll fucking put it, whatever shirt gets him money, he'll put that fucking thing on. Okay? And, all these things with the moderation. And when Zuck announced all this shit with the moderation changes and whatnot, I was like, well, maybe we should go back and fucking look at Blue Sky, especially since Dorsey left. Okay? And so I've been using it, and that's the one thing that I noticed. Like you just noticed, there's a lot of people that actually had been on Twitter that definitely had not jumped the threads that are there.
Or Mastodon. Yep.
Or Mastodon. And so, yes, it has been quite refreshing to see these people there. And I will tell you this, that I've still been using threads significantly. And look, there's been a lot of... At this point, almost everybody that I used to follow in Twitter regularly, or stuff that I was interested in, is available in these other places. Okay? There is only one thing that I will say that I miss. It's many times when we're watching a sporting event, a live sporting event. So Twitter had these easy to follow threads related to the events. Okay, I haven't seen neither Blue Sky or Threads have replicated that experience, that it works in the same way, where you're seeing people comment on real time on what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And Mastodon does have that. And actually, it does work decently. The thing is that there just aren't as many people there following those things. And so it's just not as it's not as engaging. But there definitely are. That is something that is far more workable in Mastodon, but it's just the critical mass isn't there. So that is the one thing that I will say that is a little bit. But other than that, for the rest, I've gone on Blue Sky. There's definitely a lot of people there that weren't on Threads that are there. I only have one list that or one of these featured feeds that I'm following. I'm not following more. I haven't found more that I really like. I for the most part, what I did is I do think that I did start following a lot of people, and I'm getting a lot of what they're posting, which is interesting to me. So I did take time to do that, and so that's been the way that I've been using it. But look, I think that these will evolve positively in some way. I'm thinking the lady who leads Blue Sky, I see her face. I can't remember her name. She seems trying to not replicate the same mistakes done at Shitter. And so, for now, it's a much better place to be than at definitely at Shitter. That's for sure.
You're thinking of Jay Graber, by the way, the CEO of Blue Sky.
Jay Graber. Okay, there you go. I don't remember her name. I can see her face, but I don't know. I'm terrible with names and faces. But fucking Jesus Christ. So so that's yeah. I am using it quite a lot in recent past.
The one thing that's getting me though, and to be honest here, is the split. Using more than one is a pain.
Well, yeah. That is the one thing that happened with Elon's takeover. That the audience has been fragmented significantly. you're not on one place following, everybody.
I mean, I
Now
feel
it's
like at this point, I'm checking Facebook itself. I'm
Yeah.
checking Threads. I'm
Yeah.
checking Mastodon. I'm
Yeah.
checking Blue Sky. Now, I had been in a mode of like Mastodon was where I was all the time, and I would check the others like once a day or twice a day or something. Whereas Mastodon, I'd be checking like at least hourly.
Right.
But whereas now it's more like I'm checking both Blue Sky and Mastodon on sort of a roughly hourly basis, and the others maybe daily, and then TikTok. I mean, it's a different kind of thing, but then TikTok. But
well. You
but
say that it's different. It's different because it's video form, but the reality.
But
is
it still takes time.
Yeah.
It still takes time, and it's a different format. But like, if you talk about what sucks up more of my time, TikTok's right up there with the rest. But if you but for this kind of stuff, it really is the text-based platforms I'm talking about. But even then, it's like, okay, and if I'm going to participate, if I'm going to repost something, or if I'm going to answer something, if I post something, do I post it in both places? Do I post it in one? Do I reply in one? Do I reply in the other? And for the most part, I'm thinking like wherever I see it first is where I'm going to interact with it. But that then splits my presence too. And yeah, I don't know. It's like,
look, and I was checking to see what I'm using, like on my screen time thing.
yeah,
okay?
Let me check my screen
and
time.
and this confirms what I was pretty confident of. Okay, I am using Threads a lot. Okay, but almost about the same amount. The place where I'm getting most of my news is actually the Apple News app.
Okay. Yeah.
I am like, the reality is that there are a number of reasons why that is. Apple has actually improved one thing that was annoying about the Apple News app in recent time, is that it's being far faster at displaying to you recent news events. Okay. Because it used to be that when you scrolled, it wasn't, unless you dug down into latest news in certain areas or whatever. It's gotten way better at, hey, something's happening like right now, and it's boom, it's right there on the feed. It's right there on the feed. And it's a place where the great thing about the news app is that, look, I follow all these different like publications, okay, for news, and it's consolidating like into For You, for example. I got Bloomberg story, NPR story, ESPN story, a Guardian story, Palm Beach Post, Washington Post, Reuters. All these news on and on the things that I selected for me that are relevant and timely. Okay, and it's not just from one source of news. Okay.
Yeah, I've never taken the time to like figure out how to use Apple News effectively.
I spent a lot of time figuring out which ones to follow, block, whatever. So like when I look here, like, stories that came out in the last, recently, for example, multiple stories on what Warren Buffett spoke about this morning on tariffs, for example. That's something that you didn't want to talk about. A story 9 minutes ago from here, Palm Beach County, something about what to know about alligator mating season. Okay, very critical for us to know, like over here. But number of timely stuff here. Something that Trump just said a little bit ago. Trump draws criticism after posting an AI image of himself as the Pope. That's been going around. It's a good one. Global factories struggling to overcome Trump tariffs. So the F1 races are on right now. I've got this. There's a number of stories about what's going on in the racing, like in the last few hours. So I took a lot of time on like, picking which ones, subjects, doing that and whatnot. And it's in order for me to get news, it's better. And I will say that the one thing that I also that I realize that Apple News Plus is they expand a lot which magazines are included. Okay, so you get you get the Atlantic, you get the New Yorker, you get New York Magazine, all of these that have to have a separate subscription. No, they're all included in the
and this is something, by the way, like I think it was New York Magazine that had the profile on Fetterman a couple days ago.
Yes,
showing how
exactly. And they got New York Magazine, and I read a lot.
And here's my story is like I saw that reference several times. I clicked the link. There was the paywall, so I couldn't read it, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm not going to read it. And then I realized I did say to myself, you probably have this in Apple News and can probably read the whole article. Yeah. But I was like, oh, but that's a pain. I'm not going to bother.
Didn't I share the link on the Fetterman article? I thought
I don't think we shared that on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack. Like I was gonna share it, but I didn't find one without the paywall, and I didn't bother to look in Apple News. So.
Okay, well I know I did read it. I realized I'll make it easy for you because I did read it. It's in my history.
So for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, there was an article on Fetterman's mental health, which is apparently not good.
Right.
That's
and that it's been deteriorating over the last couple of years significantly. And there was
his staff is seriously concerned about his condition and whether.
And there was an incident. There was an incident recently. There was also on where the heck was it? It was like on some social media. Here it is. John Fetterman struggle. Here it is. There we go. There. See. So this is the thing. I'm getting, all of this shit. I'm getting through here. Right. And and I'm not having to pay I'm not having to go through 7 different sites and subscribe to 7 different
because you pay for the one bundle to Apple. Right. It's not like you don't pay, but you pay Apple the one price.
You pay Apple the one bundle, and you get. I mean, that's the one thing. It's like we're talking about cable bundles and the non-bundling, whatever. Fuck. You know what? I'm getting the bundle here. I'm not having to subscribe to each one of these damn publications separately. I'm going to Apple. I get my News Plus. I get all these really good publications. So I just shared the Fetterman article for you, so you can go read it. And also, by the way, here's another one. It's a big one that's in here. Wall Street Journal's included at no extra charge. Okay, all right. Okay. Wall Street Journal in Apple News Plus, and that's the reason why I share a lot of journal articles. It's included in there at no extra charge. And that in and of itself is $300. That's a subscription of $300 a year that I don't pay anymore because I realized, it's free at Apple News. Fuck this. I'm not paying for the Wall Street Journal subscription. It's in here for free. So, so that's the one that I've been using. I will tell you that I did spend quite a lot of time in the section picking what are my favorites, what things I want, not blah, blah, blah. The channels and topics, and blocking shit that I didn't like. It's not the best interface for that. I will say that they need to work on that. And one thing that I've said before is that they should have a way to block certain subjects.
Is there a single feed where you just get all the magazines you followed?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You'll have
in the News Plus. That's in the News Plus tab. That's where you get that.
It's not in the following tab.
No, it's in the News Plus tab. The magazines are in the News Plus tab.
In my magazine, where is it? Where is that?
Yeah, if you get there is you get the best of News Plus is selected the magazines that you select, and it'll show you the ones that are,
Okay, I'll experiment later. But I did by the way look up my. So this isn't entirely representative because last week was the week I had surgery, but
they don't have the best. Okay, they don't have the best interface. I will say this, but the thing is, they need to improve this. But everything that you want is there, and you don't have to pay for 15 fucking different subscriptions. Okay, and it does learn from what you read. Okay,
so. Excellent. So let me give you. I was just going to give you my screen time report for the last complete week, which again is not representative because it's the week I had my surgery, but whatever. And these, I'm ignoring all the other apps. These are just the social or communications related apps. The order. TikTok was number 1 last week. Then Messages for texting back and forth with family and stuff. Then iCatcher, which is the podcast app I use. Then YouTube TV. For watching live TV.
Well, yeah.
Followed by Ivory for Mastodon and Blue Sky for Blue Sky. And looking, by the way, they are so close together last week. Ivory, 6 hours and 53 minutes. Blue Sky, 6 hours and 47 minutes. So last week I was pretty much splitting them evenly. Then Slack at 6 hours, 31 minutes. And then mail, YouTube, then Facebook, and now and then Threads, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We're getting to really small amounts of minutes now, but yeah, so that's it. But yeah. So anyway, the social media world is continuing to evolve.
It's very fragmented. I mean, that's the reality.
And the news world is continuing to evolve as well. Yeah.
I mean, everything is very fragmented right now. We talked about this overall, that how people consume everything is so fragmented, and unfortunately, to a certain extent, it's also a reason why people, to a certain extent now, what the facts are becomes so difficult to discuss with people because of what they watch and consume, and because a lot of people are people are so susceptible to just propaganda, as I've mentioned before. And it's like, they go to, they hear bullshit, and so many of them are just so open to not even questioning, without question, believing it. I will say, we do, how many times have you and I not seen a story something that is fake, but that is something that we would like to be true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fake, that we look at it and we say, no, man, that can't be true. Yeah. It would be great, but it's like, no, man.
Well, having said that, both of us have occasionally been fooled.
We have been fooled.
Last week on the show, you brought up an example, and I'm like, that's fake. And you're like, oh, damn it, it is fake when you look.
Yeah, but that's my point. My point is, you point out to me it's fake. It's not like I go and I start getting into a fucking argument with you, telling you how it's true. You're a fucking liar, You're part of the fucking mainstream media, blah, blah, blah. No, you're like, point out that's exactly my point. I go and I share it, I'm like, nah, it's fake. And I'm like, oh, man, I wanted that to be true. But okay, no, it's not true. And I think that's that. We try to, if you show me how it's not true, I'm very open to understanding how, even if it may be something that I really, really want to be true. Oh, fuck, it's not true. It's like, I still remember the one that we loved the most, but we knew had to be not true. The Alpha server, Alpha Bank.
Yeah, well, we knew from the moment that came up, we were like, that's nonsense. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Especially when they started listing details, it's like, that's just stupid. No.
Right. No. And we're just like,
Alpha Bank.
Sounds great, but no, it's not true. And so,
but I'm sure they are still selling children for child prostitution out of the basement of a pizza parlor in DC.
You're sure about that?
I'm sure about that.
Okay.
I went to that pizza parlor with my dad and stepmom a few years back. After this had all happened, I went to that pizza parlor. And I can confirm
I'm wondering
there are cages full of children all over the place.
So that's part of the experience. Go see the cage.
Actually, there is no basement at all. It was good pizza.
Yeah.
It was good pizza.
I mean, I know that I've been in the area many times, but I don't know. I don't know if I went to that place.
It's sort of like it's Comet Pizza, by the way, if I remember the name correctly.
It's Comet Pizza.
It's just a hole in the wall pizza place. It's not like some high-end
I know. Oh, I know.
It's just like.
But there were no cages. But you met with a cabal, right?
Oh yes, met with the cabal. Had all kinds of other things.
Well, that's good. As long as you meet with a cabal, then you
okay, I want to say one other social media related thing before I wrap up. The other thing about social media that I've noted, like some of the sites, like Blue Sky, is not. Facebook, almost alone out of these, was actually intended for you to keep up with friends and family originally.
Yeah,
they've moved on from that. But all these other sites like Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon, whatever, that's not what they're built for. They're built for that. Not at all. They're meant for individuals broadcasting to the world and for you to consume content from people broadcasting from the world. It's not meant to keep up with, like, I'm not going to expect to find out what's going on in Yvonne's life by looking on Blue Sky. That is just not where I'll find it. Okay.
It would be quite a. Let me see. What have I reposted, or like, because I maybe there are some. I wonder what have I posted. So based on my Blue Sky profile or what I've posted, let's see. What would you conclude that I'm doing if this is what you thought? Okay, posts. Let's see. I mentioned something. Something about primarying Democrats. Okay. The next one was I reposted something about ICE. There was a story about how Mr. Seymour Wiener, and by the way, this is the true name of this person. Okay, this is actually a real name. New York Mets announced Tuesday that noted fan and World War II veteran Seymour Wiener has died. Yeah, the guy was actually, I kept trying to check. A picture of me with my son as a baby. Something about Kilmar Abrego. And man, from this thing, you would see me sitting in there at an office, like actually going to an office. You would think I work in an office. I don't think you'd get much out of knowing anything about me on Blue Sky, other than apparently I do like the movie Stripes, because what I said was about Mike Waltz was named to the, instead of like being fired, Trump does this thing where he puts people in, like, I don't know, like who was it? Don Jr.'s ex-girlfriend. He sent her as ambassador to Greece. I guess it's kind of like he dispatches them somewhere, okay? He doesn't get rid of you, but he puts you in some job just very far away. And so I guess Mike Waltz is going to be now UN ambassador, which, knowing how much he cares for the UN, is basically might as well have put him in Siberia. And so the one thing is that I was like remembering this line from the movie Stripes, where it told like the captain of the movie that if he screwed that up, he was going to assign him to a weather station above the Arctic Circle. And that would be like, what in the past, somebody, if you did something like Mike Waltz did, that would be that would be the thing that I would expect. They were pretty in a prison, probably, in the Arctic Circle. But, we're talking about Air Force One security, signal, and all of this stuff right now. Apparently, by the way, one thing that we didn't talk about before we go, they talk about social media.
I still have a thing to finish on social media, but go ahead.
Okay, but no, did you see that Mike Waltz, getting fired?
Yes.
And they had a screenshot. They took a picture of what the fuck he was looking at in the stupid cabinet meeting, and he was still using Signal.
Well, and also people discovered that's actually not Signal. It's a Signal clone on the Signal interface who is built for the purpose of archiving the messages, which means by definition, it is also sending your messages to a third party to save. And the company who makes the Signal clone for this purpose is tied to Israeli intelligence.
Why are these guys so stupid? What why are they so stupid in their zeal to avoid like actual scrutiny here? They basically just giving everything away to the Russians, to Israeli and to whoever the fuck wants it.
Uh-huh.
I saw Marco Rubio using on there. They had fucking everybody on that damn thing.
Right.
Anyway, what are you going to say?
Anyway, so the thing I was going to say about social media is that everything is moving away from actually keeping up with friends and family. Like these other platforms aren't meant for it. Facebook was originally meant for it, but long ago moved away from that. So I just wanted to mention one of my personal projects right now is intended as a low volume, longer form way of specifically keeping in touch with friends and family. Now, I want to be clear. This is something I'm sparing maybe like an hour a week to work on, so it won't actually be ready to show.
We'll be ready by the time I'm done.
Exactly. Like it won't even be ready to show like in an alpha version to interested parties for like many, many, many months probably. But for anybody who's interested, I have a splash page only with the basic information of the concept. It's on robinletter.com. ROBINLETTER.
You could share a link on, this thing we use. I think
the Slack.
The Slack. That's it. Yes, we have.
Well, see, here's the thing: is right. I was bringing it up on the show because of the fact that we were sort of talking about adjacent stuff, but it's not ready. It's just a splash page. I can share it on there. You can share it on there, whatever. But I was gonna wait to share it until I actually had functionality to share. All I have is like a bad.
Well, of course, nobody. Probably nobody listening at the end of the show anyway. But
there you go. But like, I have bad pixel art of a robin that I did myself. And I have a couple paragraphs. That's all that's there. A couple paragraphs about the concept. I have built some more behind the scenes, but it's all just like infrastructural crap. There's no actual functionality to share yet. Like I said, it'll probably be months before that. But the basic idea is you have a circle of friends that you share updates with sequentially when it's your turn instead of just a free-for-all. And it emulates a really old way of communicating that people had. And I thought it was interesting, so I'm spending some spare time on it.
One thing that I did hear, and I haven't seen this yet, but I thought that they said that in Facebook, and there it is. They have a friends tab now. They have a friends feed now again.
Now, what they did, they have added back in a friends tab. And what it is it's still an algorithmic feed, but it's an algorithmic feed of only your friends.
But that's good because it's really I mean that works because
I just wanted to share though, and the instructions I'm going to give are the iOS mobile app. But there was a way to get this anyway, non-algorithmic, just actually like reverse chronological only. If you were on the iOS Facebook app, bottom right-hand corner says menu. You click that, and then you get a page. On that page, there's a button that says feeds. If you click feeds, then the top bar has options, all, favorites, friends, groups, and pages. If you click the friends one, then you have a reverse chronological feed of everything your friends are posting. So like the algorithmic feed, even the friends tab is trying to selectively choose from what your friends post for the things that are that might be most interesting. It's not reverse chronological. They're cycling it and bringing things to the top based on what they think you'll most likely respond to. The instructions I just gave, menu, feeds, friends, will take you to a proper reverse chronological feed of everything your friends have done. There's an equivalent on desktop, but this is several clicks deep. It's kind of buried, but like for a couple years now, whenever I do go to Facebook, that's what I do. Sometimes I use the menu feeds all to also get things posted in my groups and my pages. And that's fine too, but I get the reverse chronological feed. I get to see everything. And if I want to filter it down to friends only, I just click over to friends. So it is there. It's just buried. The new friends tab is an improvement though. You can at least go to just your friends. It's still not reverse chronological, which bugs me a little bit, but
it's better than being cluttered with all this other bullshit.
And you could say there are advantages to that too, because it surfaces sort of the thing from a day and a half ago that you missed that is getting a lot of traction from comments and such that you might miss if you're only doing reverse chronological and you're not diligent to go back down to the last thing you saw. So there are advantages of algorithmic feeds there, but it being just friends is good. Now, of course, Mark Zuckerberg was on TV saying, most people only have 3 friends, but there's demand for 15.
Oh, so fuck that.
So we can make up the difference with 12 AI friends, and that'll make everyone happy. Right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we'll wrap it up. Go check out robinletter.com. If you are at all interested in the concept, send me an email and I'll include you whenever I do get to the point where there's something actually to see. Like I said, I only have like an hour a week to work on this stupid thing, so it's going to be a long time, but whatever. Email me if you're interested. Okay, let's wrap this sucker up. What is it? Oh yeah, curmudgeons-corner.com. Which by the way, we have curmudgeons-corner.com because somebody long time ago actually took curmudgeonscorner.com without the hyphen. And it was, it had some sort of placeholder page. The domain without the hyphen is now officially for sale for $2,695. So if any of you out there want to buy it for us, feel free. You can get, curmudgeonscorner.com is available for purchase for $26.95, and we can start using that instead of curmudgeons-corner.com. For my own purposes, let me just say right out there, I would pay a little bit for curmudgeonscorner.com without the hyphen.
I would pay $200. $100
I could see going up to $100 or $200. Yeah.
Is there? Do they have an offer button?
No, they do let you do a payment plan where you can pay $225 a month
them.
for 12 months.
No. Fuck them. No.
There's a 30-day money back guarantee.
Yeah, no, thank you.
No. Anyway, we're at curmudgeons-corner. And by the way, there's at least one more Curmudgeon's Corner. There's a Curmudgeon's Corner podcast on YouTube that is not us. That has been, been around a while. Get some viewers. I've never watched an entire episode of their show, but it's out there. So we're not the only one. So maybe they'll buy the $26.95 domain name.
Oh God.
They're only on YouTube as far as I can tell right now, and there are a few others. But anyway, we are at curmudgeons-corner.com, and there you can see our archives. You can see all the ways to contact us. You can see links to our Facebook, our YouTube, etc. I still have not linked to the TikTok, and I'm getting further and further behind posting the TikToks. Like I haven't posted the TikToks for last week yet. I'll post them before I put this episode out, but I'm getting behind because they're not getting many views lately. So maybe I'll stop. I don't know. Anyway, you can find all those things. You can also find a link to our Patreon where you can donate the $26.95 to us or anything else you would like to. At various levels, we will send you, we will mention you on the show. We will send you a postcard. We'll send you a mug. And I mentioned earlier that Ed got his mug. The postcards are not out yet. However, I have written the 2 postcards for Pete and Greg.
There you go. Okay.
I've made progress. I took the week off after the surgery, and I haven't felt too bad, so I've been able to do stuff. I'll tell you, like I didn't need to take the time off. Apparently, apparently there was a risk.
That was the best thing to. It was the best thing to.
It was the best thing to do. Like they said, take it easy for a week.
Yeah.
And I have taken it easy for a week. I've watched a bunch of TV and movies with Alex. I've just laid around the house. I've done some work on my personal projects. I've done some laundry, and honestly, like completely independent surgery or not, the mental health break of like just relaxing for a week, very much needed. It was,
there you go.
And so anyway, I wrote the postcards, but the next step is to send them to Yvonne for him to add his comments, and then he'll send them out to the actual people.
Okay.
And I haven't done that yet, but I hopefully will by the end of this weekend. Anyway, I am eventually getting to these things. It took a while, but I'm getting to them. It took me having surgery to have time to get to them, but whatever. Anyway, importantly, on the Patreon at $2 a month or more, or if you just ask us, we will invite you to the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack where Yvonne and I and others are hanging out throughout the week, sharing links, all of that kind of stuff. So Yvonne, what's a highlight for the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack from the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack?
I'm going to give you 2 quick ones, okay?
2 quick ones.
One was $800,000 in dimes spilled onto a North Texas highway. I mean, so somehow there was a truck that had I mean, this is 8 million dimes. I'm gonna like trying to understand how the fuck were you hauling? Where the hell did you get 8 million dimes from? How the fuck were you hauling them? It's like crazy.
Well,
Okay,
presumably it was a shipment from like the
from the
mint to
Federal
banks or
Reserve to the
something.
mint, I guess. But geez, man, 8 million dimes, 8 million dimes. I don't even remember the last time I saw a dime. I gotta admit, it's been
Right.
so long. Okay, so that was like one that was interesting, and then there was this thing where I'm not sure which stores are the ones that have like this Amazon Kitchen brand. Okay, but they had this thing at the store. Okay, it said it's a wrap, and it said lorem ipsum dolor and cheddar. With lorem ipsum dolor, sit met sit diam no mummy nib simod tin si dunt. Perishable, keep refrigerated. And so, I mean, I think the one thing is, well, it's obviously somebody forgot to complete fill out their template, but that lorem ipsum dolor thing has been around. Like, I remember this as like being like a random like scribble on like Microsoft Word in order to show you where the words went, and it has no meaning as far as I know whatsoever. I looked it up. There is no meaning to this, but for some reason, automatically that it's somebody that you know that this is like somebody typed this out. Somebody went and they had a template.
So,
they were supposed to erase something and put it in, and boom, you wound up with.
So according to
forgot.
Wikipedia, the lorem ipsum text is derived from sections 1.10.32 and 1.10.33 of Cicero's De Finibus Bonorum et Malorum. The physical source may have been the 1914 Loeb Classic Library edition of that thing, where the Latin text presented on the left hand even pages breaks off on page 34 and continues on page 36 with lorem ipsum, suggesting that the galley type of the page was mixed up to make the dummy text today. So it's not actually a quote from that text.
No.
It's from that text and then scrambled in some way.
Yeah.
And so the relevant section of Cicero is printed in the sources reproduced below with the fragments used in lorem ipsum highlighted. So lorem ipsum doesn't even like lorem starts in the middle of a word. It's de lorem ipsum in the text.
Yeah, I know. It's not exactly not even a word. Yeah.
Right. And so it's like it's if you look at the highlighting here, it's just it skips a whole bunch of words, it's whatever, but it's apparently taken from that source. There you
go. So very tasty lorem ipsum dolor and cheddar wrap.
Alex is requesting that I give one other thing for people to take a look at. Which is I shared on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack a few minutes ago, but is also posted on YouTube. I've been trying to post it on TikTok, but TikTok's been giving me trouble, so it's not on TikTok yet, so I don't know if it'll show up there. But Alex entitled it Daddy Torture Video. So if you go to YouTube and search on Abulsme, Abulsme, don't search on Samuel Minter because there are lots of Samuel Minters. But if you search on Abulsme, one of the first things that comes up will be the Samuel Minter channel that you can click through and see everything on the channel. But also, if you're listening to this soon after I post it, probably the second video or within the first few videos is going to be Daddy Torture Video anyway. I just posted it a couple hours before recording. Basically, the bottom line here is we needed Alex to sign a medical form because legally here in Washington State, if you're over 13, there's certain things that your parents cannot do for you. And there's certain things that the doctor's office isn't even allowed to talk to the parents unless they have written permission from the child. So we needed to get the form that gave us written permission to talk to the doctor in addition to Alex. And Alex did not, Alex demanded extortion. I don't know. He would not sign without us giving us something significant. There were a couple things he asked for first from his sister. His sister did not give him what he wanted. So when we were at a diner, he indicated that he would sign the papers if I drank/ate a concoction he made at the diner made out of all the random shit that's on a diner table. He's hitting me because I said shit. Mixed all up together. So we've got creamer, we've got French fries, we've got hot sauce, we've got salt, we've got pepper, we've got butter.
How much were you supposed? You have to give it a try. You have to drink the whole fucking thing.
I have to drink the whole thing, and you can see the video. You can see me do it. I did it. He signed the papers, but it is a 10-minute long video of me forcing myself to consume this absolutely disgusting concoction. And to try to do it without throwing up. Spoilers, I did not throw up, but I make quite a few funny faces while I'm eating this stuff or drinking / eating.
Fantastic.
Because like
Superb.
there was a bunch you could drink, but then there was stuff left at the bottom that you had to eat. Like I ate an entire like sphere of butter straight, things like that. And the concoction itself was absolutely disgusting. Anyway,
oh my God,
he wants everybody to like watch the video. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
And with that, we are out of here. Thank you for joining us for yet another Curmudgeon's Corner. Have a great week. If all goes well, we'll be back next time. Stay safe, be good, blah, blah, blah. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Yvonne.
Bye.
There we go. Here comes the music.
That would help.
I was actually worried that YouTube and TikTok and these places would block it just because the name is Daddy Torture Video.
That could be a problem.
Torture. I mean, it was kind of torture.
Well, although torture right now is very popular in this country anyway.
There you go. Okay, I'm hitting stop.